Okay, so we're ready to get started. Are we good with time? Mhm. Okay, hi everyone. It's Dr. Nairi again. I'm happy to be here tonight and doing our webinar number 2. And tonight we're doing simple steps to detox. And I did my best to make it as simple as possible. So at this time of the year, it's a good time. Actually, any time of the year is really a good time to look at what we can do to optimize our health and keep our systems flowing. So tonight we're going to look at why we need to detox and how to do it. Yes. Okay, so just a little bit about me for those of you who may not be familiar with who I am. My name is Dr. Nairi. I am a primary care medical doctor. I would say most of what I do now is what I consider energy medicine. I consider myself an energetic medicine healer. And what that means is I do my best to really look at all the different aspects of our health, whether it be emotional, spiritual, mental, and of course, physical, and really look at what we're creating in our lives and in our bodies. So I spend a lot of time with my patients looking at the overall picture and the different pieces of the puzzle. We do a lot of different things. Yes, we do focus on detox. We do a lot of IV medicine, anti-aging, ozone therapy, so many other pieces, but the bottom line being really looking at all the different pieces to see how they fit together and how we can use them to create healing as simply and naturally as possible. So after doing this for many, many years, and I know it says 20 years, and that's pretty close. After doing this for about 20 years, what I discovered is we're really all multidimensional and truly energy beings, okay? So what does all of that mean? It means that if I were to really boil down what I am composed of, believe it or not, I'm actually mostly empty space, and I'm really made up of light frequencies and what we would consider energetic frequencies. So we are truly all multi-dimensional, and most of how we create is from the unseen spaces that then manifest physically. So again, before starting this lecture or this discussion, I just want to share that when I approach myself or the people that come in to see me, it's really, really important to look at those different pieces, how they tie together, and truly understand that if I accept that I am a light being, if I can look at where I am creating from, which is my subconscious spaces, I can change my health, I can change my life, I can change my relationships, I can create more joy and have the best day ever, every single day. So my goal in this discussion is to share with you some simple tips on how to optimize your health in powerful and easy ways. So since we're talking about detoxification, let's just kind of break down a little bit of what does that mean, because it's a term that we hear all the time and we throw around. You know, you basically see detox everywhere you turn now. So what does it mean to detox? So detoxification is a natural process that our body does in order to get rid of things that it doesn't need, or toxicity that it builds up, or just natural waste products from what our bodies have to do every single day. Okay, so it's a primary function of the body. Basically, there's different ways we can do a detox. Okay, one of the ways that we can naturally detox is just simply by lessening the amount of toxins that we take into our system. And the second major way is to actually support the body's own natural detoxification and elimination pathways. Okay, so we can decrease the toxins coming in, and we can help support the natural processes that our body's doing to detoxify by optimizing those. And that's a lot of what we're going to spend time talking about. So why do we need to detox? I know it sounds kind of silly, but really, why do we need to do this? If our bodies are doing this naturally, and we know that it can take care of the job, why do we need to do something additional? So here's the bottom line. We live in a very toxic world. Our world today is not the world that it was 100 years ago, 500 years ago. It's very different. And we are exposed to so many more toxic products, toxic environment, toxic foods. And it doesn't mean that there aren't a lot of healthy things out there as well. Again, the reality is There's just a lot more going on as far as industries, genetic modification to foods, and just the types of viruses, bacteria, and other pathogens that we are seeing in our environment. So we cannot just depend on the natural systems anymore that are within our body. We need to do more so that the scales don't tip and our bodies don't become overtoxic. So in our first webinar, just to kind of go back to one of the, I guess, most comprehensive slides from that webinar number one, we looked at the different things that create, I guess, changes in the foundation of the body. So we discussed chemicals and metals. We talked about food. We talked about different pathogens, things like candida, parasites, viruses, bacteria. Then we talked about having a natural genetic makeup. And then the one that I put on the top was our spirituality or belief systems, because we can create a lot of toxicity from within as well. What we think about can either create love and loving pathways, or what we think about can create some toxic pathways as well. So this slide kind of summarizes the different things that affect us, affect our foundation, and create toxins or create joy and love in our body. And if you notice, the main trunk of the tree in the slide talks about the brain-gut connection and belly health, because again, our primary foundational system that kind of, I guess, is the operating step-off platform for everything else is how healthy is my digestive tract, and how clean is it, and how well is it working with my brain, because we all know our belly contains most of our immune system, it contains most of our neurotransmitters, it contains most of our healthy bacteria, and those healthy bacteria are the things that tell our body to be happy, to not be happy. It tells our body how toxic we are or how healthy we are. So these are the different things that can create some of the change in the foundation. So what are some of these toxins? Okay, so I just wanted to put a few of them so we can actually give a name to this. So again, toxins can be things that we eat, we touch, we inhale. So GMO products, BPA, what we find in plastics, things that we find in chemicals, natural pollution. There's a specific group of toxins called the neurotoxins, and just like the word says, it affects the neurological system. So we can look at metals, okay? We're looking at lead, arsenic, mercury. We can look at different chemical compounds like fluoride, okay, ethanol, things that we get in our gasoline. So we are being bombarded with so many chemicals and metals today, things that didn't even exist 100 years ago or 200 years ago. Now they're constantly in our environment, and our bodies are absorbing it and it's taking it in. So what are some symptoms of toxicity? How might you have an indication that it's a good time for you to detoxify, or that there might be some toxic overload? So some of the symptoms that are listed here are the more common ones, and these are the things that I hear very frequently in my office. Chronic fatigue, loss of energy, brain fog, depression, anxiety, insomnia, allergies, right? Think of how common these things are and how much we hear this. Headaches, muscle aches, feeling cold in your extremities, okay? Changes in your vision. And this is just a small comprehensive list. Symptoms can indicate toxic overload. Of course, there's so many more, but these are the ones we hear most commonly. So think about yourself and think about it. Am I feeling any of these things right now? So what do toxins do? So how do they actually create damage? What do they do? So again, we mentioned this briefly in webinar number one. So toxicity causes free radical damage. So we've mentioned free radicals. What are free radicals, and why is this so important? So free radicals, if you look at the picture below, are when you see an unpaired electron, okay, that is considered a free radical. A free radical is highly reactive, which means that it wants to bounce around and do things until it becomes paired or stable. We naturally create free radicals every single day in our bodies just by the metabolic reactions that are taking place by eating food. We're creating free radicals. So the more metabolism, the more free radicals. So it is a natural process in our body that our body can manage. But again, if there's too much additional toxicity coming into the system, it gets overloaded, and then we have oxidative stress. So what do the free radicals do? Free radicals cause damage to cellular structures, such as your mitochondria, your DNA, proteins. Ultimately, what they do is cause inflammation. So inflammation is another one of those catchphrases that we hear a lot about, right? So free radicals cause inflammation because when free radicals create damage, there are cleanup mechanisms that come to take care of it. And the cleanup creates inflammation, which is actually a healthy thing when it's an acute, short-lived situation. The problem arises when the stimuli or the triggers are too much and the acute inflammation turns into a chronic inflammatory process. So again, this leads to oxidative stress. So one of the most popular, I guess, examples of chronic inflammatory processes is what we call leaky gut. When we have this systemic type of inflammation happening in the lining of the gut, and we have spaces created with the tight junctions where things can cross over and enter into the bloodstream that should not be there, and then the body doesn't recognize it and starts to build an immune response to it. So leaky gut is basically acute inflammation gone bad. It's been happening for too long, and the toxic burden is too much for the body to handle. So I put a quick slide up here on dieting because it's one of my favorite things to work with people on, because there's some trends that happen when people are dieting. And if we're talking about toxins, if you take a look at the picture here, when someone is attempting to lose weight, most of the times what I hear is, I did really well. I was able to lose the weight, but then it came right back within a month, 2 or 3. So why did that happen? If someone is trying to lose weight and they're not taking care and addressing the toxins that are within the body, if you take a look at the picture, these impurities, they stay in there. They're stored in those fat cells, and it's a lot easier to rebound because the body says, hey, I need that fat to protect this toxicity. And so it wants to regain what it's lost. When someone is trying to lose weight and they first commit to a program of actually doing detoxification, it's a completely different outcome. Because when you detox and those impurities are released from the body, the rebound effect is less likely to happen. So this is another major reason that we would want to have some type of a detox program that we are doing all year round. So evaluation of toxicity. There are many ways to do it. I've listed quite a few examples on this slide. A lot of what I do is really taking a look at the more in-depth picture of health through testing with labs. I will say this, labs are labs. The symptomatic person sitting in front of me is the most important. A lot of what I talked about as far as metal and chemical toxicity, there are really very comprehensive tests that are available to look at what that burden might be in your body. There's a great test done by Great Plains Lab. It's the GPL tox screen, and they look at a lot of the metabolites of these different chemicals, and you can get a very good sense of how overloaded are you. So back to this slide. All right, so we looked at the brain-gut connection, belly health, and the different triggers that change the foundation of the body. So at the bottom of the tree, I put the channels of elimination. So how does this fit in? So naturally, the body has ways to clean itself up. And so looking at the channels of elimination is the best way to understand, how do I need to detoxify my body? How can I support it so that I have a better outcome and more functional health? So let's talk about the channels of elimination. So the skin, which is the largest organ as far as detoxification is concerned, our lungs, the lymphatic system, the colon, the liver, and the kidneys. So those are the major channels of elimination or detoxification modalities and organ systems that we want to support. My favorite in all of this, and I do have, I guess, some partial love for the liver, because it does work so hard to keep us balanced. So you're going to find that in moving forward, we're going to spend time talking about many of the channels, but there will be a focus on the liver. So the liver does many things. As you know, it is our major organ of detoxification, but it does so much more. The liver actually stores vitamins, nutrients. It takes glycogen, which is stored glucose, breaks it down when we need it. It actually helps to fight infections by removing different pathogens from the blood. It has a role in blood clotting. It helps us to produce bile so that we can digest the fat soluble vitamins. There are many other functions that the liver does. It helps to convert hormones. Okay, so it is an organ of, it's multifunctional, and it's really important to make sure that the liver is what we like to call in Chinese medicine, that it remains uncongested or flowing well. So looking at the liver, and I know this is a bit detailed, but just to kind of throw some words out there so when you hear them, it makes sense. The liver has two phases of detoxification. There's phase one for the fat soluble toxins, phase two for the water soluble. And if you take a look at the different phases, number one, they need different nutrients to make them work optimally. And you'll see, for example, in phase two, there's something called glutathione conjugation. There's methylation, right? So when you think about why are people talking about methylation so much now, and what's happening if someone has variants in their methylation system, right here you're going to see where the liver is not going to be able to take care of the toxicity that's coming in. If there's not enough glutathione, which is our master antioxidant, it cannot take care of the toxins. So I just wanted to put this slide so you can get a sense of where these words relate to, and you can understand why it's so important to support these systems if they're naturally not working. So the vicious cycle of chronic toxic overload. So if we started free radical production when the toxicity comes in, we just understood and said that it's going to create many different health problems. It's going to create chronic inflammatory processes, whether it's in the heart, it's in the GI system. And then what usually happens in conventional medicine, unfortunately, is these problems get treated with some type of a pharmaceutical, whether it's a pain medication or an antibiotic. And unfortunately, these medications lead to more leaky gut than is already there, and they create more intestinal permeability. Okay, that then creates imbalances in the good and bad bacteria, and we talked about how important it is to have those good bacteria working right. So more intestinal impermeability, more dysbiosis or imbalance of the bacteria, then the liver has to handle that on top of everything it's already handling. And that leads to more detoxification problems, more oxidative stress. So the moral of this slide is there are other ways to handle the health problems. There are other ways to detoxify the body. And I know most of you watching this are not interested perhaps in taking pharmaceuticals, but you may know someone who is, and I want you to understand just what it's doing. So the 10 simple steps of detox, okay? So did my best to wrap this up into 10 simple steps. So I do want to say in moving forward, I would suggest that if you were going to practice any of these steps, that you would seek the guidance of a health professional, someone that you felt comfortable with, because not everything is for everyone. And there are different times and different sequences that might be best for one individual versus another. So I would suggest whether you want to reach out to me or someone else you may feel comfortable with, but just running it by someone who may have a deep understanding of this to guide you in the best way for your own body. So step number one, okay? So it doesn't get more simple than drinking water. But I will tell you this. When I do my intake, usually on a first visit with a patient, I will tell you at least 90% are not drinking enough water. And it sounds so simple. We talk about it all the time, but most of us are not getting enough hydration into our bodies. So like most of you know, you want to do about half of your body weight. Okay, so for example, if your weight is 160 pounds, half of that is 80, and you want to do 10 8-ounce glasses for the day. So why do we need to drink water, right? It sounds so simple. So we know that we're mostly made up of fluids. Water helps to do so many things. For people who want to lose weight, it's one of the easiest things that you can do. Obviously, it's going to get rid of toxins. It's going to help keep the bowels moving. It's going to moisturize our joints. It's going to keep the toxic overburden from creating things like cancer. So drinking water is crucial. And then I know the next question always becomes, What kind of water? What do I need to do? Do I do reverse osmosis? Do I do alkaline? And I get all these questions about what is the best water to drink. So I'm going to speak a little bit about the type of water that I want to make sure that I'm having. So we're going to talk about the concept of structured water. So what does that mean, structured water? So whether you're having alkaline water, whether you're having well water, like you're going to see in this picture, what you want to do is make sure that that water is structured. And there are certain devices that can do that. And I put a picture right here on, I guess, the right-hand side that shows what one of them looks like. Ultimately, what you're going to do is run your water through something that looks like this. And what does it do? It changes the particle size and structure of the water that's entering your body. So looking at the photos on this slide, the first one is showing well water before it was structured and then after it went through the structure device. The one on the bottom shows rainwater before and after. And what we're looking at here is basically kind of the crystallization light structure of the water. And if you look at the ones on the right-hand side that went through the structuring device, they're way more vibrant. It's like they're alive, right? So after running the water through the structuring unit, the energy increased by 300%. And that's huge because when you think about our bodies, we are a natural battery, and think about being able to get so much more energy and really take that water in. The next thing to really note about the structured water and understand is, oh, let me go back, sorry. Water molecules usually, when we're drinking regular water that's not structured, is very large in size. And what happens is we take all this water in, and then people will say to me, and I've experienced this myself, is, I'm drinking all of this water and I still feel dry. I don't feel like I'm absorbing it. And this could be one of the reasons why. The water molecules are too large and they're too big to actually enter into our cells. When we run the water through the structuring device, it breaks it apart and creates hexagonal clusters that are then able to enter into the cell and really create full hydration. There's also so many other benefits to structured water. It can change what a toxic particle is able to do. It will change anything it comes in contact with, if there's any type of chemicals, metals in that water, so that these things are no longer able to affect the body in a negative way. Okay, step number 2, eat a balanced alkaline dominant diet. And really, ideally, what I mean by that is plant-based. So I get it, okay? Not everyone wants to be a vegetarian, and I'm not telling you you have to be. What I am saying is this. We are light beings. We are energetic light beings, okay? And we need life, right? So think about when you're eating something, I want you to ask yourself, okay, how much life is in this? So the things that are going to have the most life are the plants that we can pick from the earth and eat, right? Think about how much life is in something that comes out of a box that's in your pantry. There's probably not a whole lot in there. So it may be a vegan item, but there's really not a whole lot of life in it. So how I would, I guess, suggest that you think is, when you are putting something in your mouth and you're taking it into your body, just ask yourself, okay, how alive is this? How much light is in this food that I'm eating? And of course, most of the plant-based foods are going to be alkaline. And we know that the more alkaline, the less likelihood there is to create some type of toxicity or even cancer in our bodies. So acid alkaline. So the usual recommendation is about 80-20, okay? 80% alkaline, 20% more acidic. So looking at this chart, okay, the things again that are more alkaline are your green leafy vegetables. All of the greens, those are the most alkaline. When we look at the most acidic, there's one word that I'm going to use for it, and it's sugar. Everything on that side it's all about the sugar. The more sugar, the more acidic. And by sugar, I'm talking about not the natural sugars that we find in fruits and vegetables, but the processed sugars that are being put into everything, like carbonated drinks and breads and cakes and desserts. So alkaline 80%, 20% acidic. But my goal is to start having you think about how much life is in the food that I'm putting into my body. Because if it doesn't have a whole lot of life in it, and as much as I understand a steak is a great thing to have, there's not a whole life in that piece of meat. So just think about it. If you look at the acidic foods, you will find that meat will tend to be on the acidic side. So it's all about the balance. I'm not saying, again, everyone needs to be a vegetarian. It's just take a look and see if there are ways that you could do this more optimally in your own life. Step number 3, heal the belly. Okay, so we're always talking about healing the belly. So balancing the good bacteria with probiotics, digestive enzymes to keep things moving so that it doesn't have a chance to hang around in the gut, and candida and other things start to hang out as well. Digestive enzymes and probiotics are absolute necessaries. And if you watched the first webinar, we talked a lot about those and why they're so critical for the overall health of our bodies to really address the systemic chronic inflammatory processes. And of course, fiber. We want to keep that GI system moving. If you are constipated or having symptoms of constipation, that's a clear indicator right there that there's an imbalance in the GI system and there's more than likely toxic overload, because our body is again designed that we should be expelling our waste products multiple times during the day, not just once, multiple times. Step number 4, increase oxygenation, energy production, right? So just think about that, okay? So we want to make sure these channels of elimination are working as best as they can. We're supporting them. We're eating foods filled with more life. Now we need to move our bodies, okay? So the best way to move energy and to clear emotional blocks, I will tell you this, is to move your body. Okay, emotion is energy in motion. So we're increasing oxygenation and energy production. So exercise, again, the food we're taking in, and some suggestions if you need a little extra help in this area. You can use things like food grade hydrogen peroxide to help oxygenate the body. Ozone is a great thing to use that can be very non-invasive, that can have a very dramatic effect on the oxygen that is being transported in the body, that can create more health, better circulation, better release of the toxins that are already there. So hard to talk about energy production without talking about mitochondria. And I love this topic because I truly believe we can only be as healthy as the mitochondria in our body. And there are ways as well to evaluate how healthy our mitochondria are. So what are these cells? So mitochondria are the powerhouse of the cell, right? So they make the ATP, they generate the energy that we need. So the more active an area is, like our muscles, we'll have more mitochondria. So why is this all important? So here's something I find really fascinating. Mitochondria have their own DNA. They actually have their own DNA. Like the nucleus of the cell has the genetic material and has DNA. The mitochondria, which are within those cells, also have their own DNA. So that for me right there says they trump a lot of other things, right? So there's something about this particular creative force that needs to have its own genetic material, because that's how powerful it is. So yes, it's creating energy, but my sense is it's doing so much more. So here's an interesting fact about the mitochondria as well. So mitochondria come from the cytoplasm in the egg, which comes from a female during fertilization. So we inherit our mitochondria from our mothers. So what I will say is this: as a woman, as a mother, when I think about how much influence I have over my children, or how much my mother has had over me because I inherited her mitochondria, that's pretty huge. And I think it's another way that we as women connect with our offspring. But it's very interesting to know that our mitochondria that have all of this extra genetic information and are the powerhouse of our bodies come from our moms. So go woman power. Step number 5, fasting. So fasting, and there are different ways to do this. Intermittent fasting is very popular, and that's certainly fine. I also like to suggest perhaps doing at least one day a week, a full day fast. You can do it from sunrise to sunset. I kind of like to go with the natural cycles of the earth, fasting 1 day a week will add so much health to your body, will add years to your life, giving your body a rest from all those metabolic processes that it's doing all day long, resting the digestive tract, resting your brain, creating less free radicals for that day. Okay. So it will help you with addictions. It can help for people that have sugar cravings. Okay. It can help reduce blood pressure, build your immune system. So my recommendation, and if you're doing intermittent fasting, that's fine, is so bring fasting 1 day a week into your regular cycle, and then maybe even looking at certain times of the year of doing a multiple day fast. So I just put this slide here because I know sometimes when people are fasting, this is what happens, and they kind of see everything and it starts to look like French fries and they want to eat it. But that will change the more that you do this. So the first couple of times you do it, it might be more difficult. Keep at it, because I will guarantee you that it will become easier. And a lot of the relationships that you created with food or even with glucose, insulin communication will also change, and you will definitely feel better. Step number 6 is dry brushing. So I included this here because dry brushing, rebounding, these are all really, really important ways that we can help the lymphatic system. So we talked about the lymphatic system being one of the major ways that we can detox. So dry brushing is so great. It can help women with cellulite, which is a big reason alone right there. We probably want to do it, but it really helps to clear the skin. And we talked about the skin is that major organ, right? It's the largest organ of detox, and help to move things, increase circulation, decrease inflammation. Dry brushing, very inexpensive. You want to brush towards the heart. Okay, there's different videos and things that you can watch to do this. But again, these are really simple, inexpensive, dramatic ways that we can support our body. Step number 7, sweating. So we can sweat with movement and exercise. I really wanted to focus here, sweating in terms of doing some type of a sauna, an infrared sauna specifically, because this can really help to purge toxins out of the body. Um, Again, making it a part of your life. These things have become very inexpensive. There are many places that you can go to now and purchase packages for sauna usage. So making this a part of your day, or getting out in the sun and really allowing when you can get warm enough to just let that natural sweating come through your skin and let those toxins purge. Step number 8. So doing a specific series of cleanses. So this is a big one, okay? So here's where we get into a little bit more of the detail and the nitty gritty with how do we actually want to clean out some of the digestive system and some of the other organs. So usually when I recommend cleanses, this is the order that I like to perform them. First, we do a parasite cleanse, some type of a candida follow-up, candida diet with a candida program. Then we want to clean the colon, whether it's through colonics or what we're going to talk about next, which is coffee enemas. Then move to the kidneys, and then the liver, and finally heavy metals. The reason I have chosen to kind of recommend it in this order is because it's the most gentle on the system, and we're kind of going from the lightest to deepest, or from lighter toxic load to heaviest toxic load. So following the sequence can make that detoxification process not feel so debilitating, okay? So foods that help cleanse the liver. So we're gonna get into focusing on the liver like I mentioned before. There are many foods that we can eat that will help support and cleanse the liver. Garlic, avocados, turmeric, okay, leafy greens. What I want to spend some time talking about though is actual liver flushing. So I would say this, if there's nothing else that you do on this detox talk, do this. Do some type of liver flushing. And again, be very gentle. Speak to someone who can look at you and tell you exactly how to do this. You want to start slow and build yourself up. This is the deepest way to help yourself get better, the fastest way that I know. But again, take your time, create a program so that your body can slowly move the toxins so that you know you can handle it. Liver flushing can be done many different ways. There's a lot of different protocols out there. One of the more popular ones is the Epsom salt, olive oil, grapefruit formula by Andreas Moritz. And Clark also has a really good one. So this photo here is showing the actual hepatic ducts of the liver. So we're all familiar with the gallbladder and gallstones because that's what we talk about. What we don't realize though is in the liver itself, all of these channels also get clogged with these calcified stones. And then how can the liver work optimally? This is when the toxic overburden has occurred and it has not been cleared. So we want to aid this process and help purge these things out of our body. So another way that that can be done is with coffee enemas. So my absolute favorite thing, absolute favorite, not necessarily to go through the process of doing it, but I love the effect. So usually I recommend some type of organic coffee. I like to use Dr. Wilson's. And you want to prepare this, start slow. You're going to boil your coffee, go through the whole process. There are many videos on this. I usually recommend people just start with maybe a half a teaspoon or a half a tablespoon and work themselves up just to see how their body reacts because there is caffeine and that can create an effect. So the compound that's within the coffee that's creating the detoxification process is called palmione system. That's one of the things that it does. And glutathione, like we said, will basically go around like Pac-Man and scavenge all those free radicals and move them out of the body. There are other things in the coffee like the caffeine and other things that will help to release the bile. Okay, and all of the things that get stored in that bile that need to come out. What I will also say is when you do this, I have seen parasites, mucus, you will see many different things purge from your body and be released, things that have been sitting in there. So for me, coffee enemas are an absolute necessary. What I would say is if you're going to start this, maybe start with 1 or 2 a week, see how your body does depending on your needs. Obviously, if you're more ill, you can do this more frequently, but there's a fine balance between doing them for your health and doing them too much so that you can become somewhat depleted. So I just wanted to show another picture of what the stones look like. So this is kind of what they can look like. Sometimes they're really small and look like those little green peas. Other times they can be very large. And so this is just a photo of multiple sizes of what you might see coming out of you when you do the liver flushing or the coffee enemas. Step number 9, again, sounds so simple, right? But really being in nature. So think about how much time in your day are you outside in nature. We have moved so much away from this and our bodies have forgotten how to heal because we are naturally made to resonate with Mother Earth and to create the healing that our body needs by everything that she has provided. So the sunlight, the trees, the air, the soil. So if you are not feeling well and you're listening to this, I would say this as simple as it sounds. Start with something that's completely free and easy to do. All you have to do is make the time. Tell yourself, I am going to take my shoes off, go out in nature. And if you can even spend 15 minutes, a half an hour every day, starting now, and really embracing the natural elements and what they have to offer. And the last step, step number 10, is having some type of a spiritual practice. And this kind of goes along with being with nature, really taking time to stop in our world, in this time and age that we're in with all the technology that we have. It's so easy to get caught up in our to-dos, to get caught up in all of the activities. If we really understand how we create our lives, the biggest thing that we can do for ourselves is actually to stop, sit still, and listen. Take the time to create our vision, to hold our vision, and to listen to what we are receiving and trusting that all that we want to create is already there. If we claim it, take it in, and manifest it. So having some type of a spiritual practice, starting your day with this, ending your day with 5-10 minutes. It doesn't have to be anything complicated. It's about making the time to use the innate power that we have been given to define the world we live in, to create the joy that we want to feel in our daily moments, it really truly starts here. So slow it down, create some time in the day to breathe more deeply and to really envision what it is that you want to create. So I just want to mention, since we're done with the 10 steps, just a little bit about IV vitamin therapy. And the reason I threw this in here is because, again, people ask me a lot about this when it comes to detoxification. So sometimes when individuals are really ill or they're depleted or the GI tract is not working and what they're ingesting orally cannot do the job, we have to bypass that GI system and actually put the vitamins or the detoxification material straight into the bloodstream. So IV vitamin therapy, I believe in, and I think that it can be a great asset to a complete program. A lot of you have heard about, for example, like a Myers cocktail where you're looking at getting vitamin C, some of the B vitamins, magnesium, things that can help with inflammation, that can help boost the neurological system, that can help with detoxification. And of course, one of our favorites, glutathione. Actually, having glutathione put into the body so that it can fight the toxic overload if that burden has become too much. There's nothing wrong with getting that additional help to bring back the balance as you're making changes. So when not to detox, and I just wanted to at least kind of mention this, there are times when it's probably not most ideal to detox. And again, you're going to speak to a provider you feel comfortable with and create a program together. But obviously, if you're pregnant, breastfeeding, it's probably not the best time to do anything too intense. For children, for teens and the elderly, it's kind of an individual basis. For someone who is underweight, who is really sick and actually getting over an illness, it's not the best time. Any significant organ system problems like heart disease, kidney problems, okay? Diabetes, I put on here. There are many reasons a diabetic should detox, but again, it all depends how far along their health is. If you're taking a lot of medications, taking a lot of supplements, things that are kind of what I would say, overboard or that have significant side effects that may affect the liver and other organ systems, you want to make sure that you get a plan, get some advice from someone who knows how to do this, because it's not that these are absolute contraindications, but they are kind of gray areas that need to be looked at on an individual basis. So there is hope in natural medicine. So what can we do? And you're doing it right now because you're listening to this, is become informed. Be your own best advocate. I don't care what any practitioner tells you. I'm a medical doctor, and here's what I tell my patients this most days. You know your body better than anyone else. It is your absolute right to listen to your body, understand what you need, and you get to decide what you're going to allow and not allow. Be your own best advocate. Look at all aspects of yourself, not just the physical. The physical is a sign, it's information that's telling you that the emotional, spiritual, and mental spaces really need the attention. And in order to change the physiology, those are the places that need to be looked at. So pay attention to your thoughts. Be patient with yourself. And when in doubt, and when you feel confused or overwhelmed, stop, go back to your breath, go sit in nature, get quiet, shut the phone off, and listen. Just listen. Listen, and you will see magical things creating in front of you. You will hear things that have been really wanting to come through, but they just haven't had the space to do so. So what do you do next? Okay, so you're going to review this webinar. You can absolutely certainly share this information with the people that are in your life, the people you love, and start incorporating these practices. So don't overwhelm yourself and try to do everything. Pick the 1, 2, or 3 things that really resonated with you because of time, because it was easy, or maybe you feel like you want a deeper cleanse. Check in with someone about it, make sure that it sounds okay, and go ahead and start incorporating it into your life. Detoxification shouldn't be a once a year type of a thing. It's something that needs to be done regularly. Okay, so everyone's different. We all have different cycles. We all have different ways that we get overloaded. when you get to know your cycle, it will be much easier for you to determine what you need and how you want to set up your own detoxification program. And of course, the next step after all of that is to sign up for our webinar in January. So I'll tell you why. So we haven't picked a date yet. What I will do once we have the date, we'll send the email out. So the webinar in January is really going to focus on how we manifest. So if we're sitting here and we're talking about being light beings that are mostly influenced by our emotions, spiritual and mental spaces, well, we definitely need to spend some time talking about how do we get healthy there and what do we do so that our physiology is different, so we don't have as much to detox, right? But if it starts there, then I want to spend some time with you sharing what I have learned, some of my practices, some of the things that I'm still learning and working on in my own life, so that we can create our best day every single day. So wishing you health, happiness, and balance. And I appreciate you taking the time to give this gift to yourself so that you can be more optimal, love yourself more, and certainly share that with the people that are in your circle that you care about. So don't go anywhere. I'm going to unmute everyone so that we can talk if you want to do so. Let me do that now. Okay, can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, Marty, can you hear me? I still don't know why I can't hear him. I'm not sure.
I can hear you.
Oh, there you are. Hi. Hi. So I just want to check in to see if you have any questions. I know we see each other, but I just want to make sure that I kind of connect if there's anything that you need to know more about now or you want to understand better. Are you hearing me? Yeah. Marty? Okay, so I'm not really hearing anything back. Let me just do this. I'm going to put him on chat. Okay. So I just reached out to Marty to just in chat to see if he had any questions. So if I don't hear anything back, we'll just go ahead and sign off. How you doing, Megan?
I'm good. I just wanted to have you go over the benefits of not eating meat and if you do eat meat, organic versus non-organic.
Sure. So here's where meat gets tricky, and this is just the reality again. This is truth, okay? So yes, there are better choices of meat in terms of, the organic, grass-fed, no steroids, no antibiotics, all of that. But the bottom line is meat, it doesn't have a whole lot of life in it, and it's in a highly acidic food. So I will tell you this. What I have found for myself is usually when I'm wanting more meat or craving more meat, it's because there's an imbalance that's kind of underlying that. And again, I'm not telling you that you need to be completely vegan. What I'm saying is there's not a whole lot of life and light in meat because it's dead. And so once that has been disconnected from the body of that animal, there's no life in it. It's not like a plant where those nutrients are really held in there. It's very different. Did I answer your question?
Sorry, I muted myself again. Yes, you answered it. You answered it completely. Thank you.
Wow. Yeah, when we do the next lecture, when we talk about really get into frequency medicine and energetics and manifestation, it's going to be a whole lot of truths, like things that are going to be hard to, some of it will be hard to hear because, every part of us wants to not maybe take that in. But it's going to be really enlightening to hear, and then we can decide what we want to do with it. But I'm learning more and more that, again, everything that I'm putting into my body and exposing myself to, the kind of impact it's having. And believe it or not, the things that are having the most impact right now are mostly the things that we're not even seeing, like blue light. So that's going to be a fun talk.
I'm excited for it. The baby keeps barking. That's why I keep
That's all
muting
right. No,
myself.
that's okay. That's okay. That's all right.
But yeah, I'm excited.
Me too. Well, I appreciate you tuning in from over there. Thank
Of
you.
course. This is great. Thank you for
Oh, you're
coming
so
on.
welcome. Oh, thanks, Megan.